Hello class, today we are looking at day 3 of finding unknown angles in parallel lines cut by a transversal. So, the essential question is, how do I find missing measures when parallel lines are cut by a transversal? Your learning intention. I am learning to find missing angle measures when two parallel lines are cut by a transversal. So, you have a warm-up question as usual, so please pause the video and see if you can do the warm-up question now. I do hope you tried to do that on your own. So, as you're looking at it, what do you see and how do you use that information? You see a circle. So I know I have a circle. What do I know about a circle? It has 360 degrees. So that is the basis for the next thing that I do to find x. I know that 296 plus x plus minus 24 plus 29 is equal to 360. 360 degrees is equal to 296 degrees plus x degrees minus 24 degrees plus 29 degrees. So the first step is to add 296 minus 24 plus 29. Put that in your calculator and you should get 301 degrees. Plus x degrees. So when you subtract it, you find that 59 degrees is equal to x degrees. Okay, I still need to find this angle. There's two ways I could do it. I could just take 360 minus 296 minus 29, and that would work. Or I can take 59 minus 24. So 59 degrees minus 24 degrees will give you 35 degrees. And you're done. That's the degree measure. X is 59, and that's the degree measure. Okay, now, we're still struggling with the idea. So the first step of solving is what? You've got parallel lines cut by a transversal. You know that any two angles you pick out are either congruent or supplementary. So you look at the two angles and you have to decide, are they congruent or are they supplementary? Okay, I'm going to condense that down to supplements because supplementary will not fit in there. So decide if the angles are congruent or supplementary. Then what do you do next? Well, you set up your equations and solve. And finally, you will substitute into the expression if you need to find a variable. Okay, so I've done all the work. I found x. I substitute x into the expression to find the angle measure if I need to. So let's look at the first ones. First thing you have to do is to decide if the angles are congruent or supplementary. That means we are looking to see what types they are. When I go up and to the right here, I go up and to the right here. They're in the same position. Angles that are in the same position are what kind of angles? Corresponding is correct. And they are congruent. If they're congruent, they are equal to each other, and I set it up as such. So 5x is equal to 3x plus 50. And that's 50 degrees. Okay. Subtract 3x from both sides. 2x is equal to 50 degrees. Divide in half, and x is equal to 25 degrees. Okay, so I've got my x. I need to find that angle measure. I substituted into one of the two expressions. It's obvious that 5 times x is going to be your quicker expression to solve. 5x is equal to 5 times 25 degrees, which is equal to 50 degrees. When I know 1, I know 4. So this, see, 5 is 100, and that's not 50 degrees. That'd be 2 times it. 5 times 1 from 5 times 25 is 125 degrees. If I know 1, I know 4. So this is 125 degrees. This one's 125 degrees. Vertical angles, 125 degrees, 125 degrees. Okay, I've still got 4 more angles to find. And I know that any of these are either congruent or supplementary. So the ones that are not congruent to 125 must be supplementary. So 180 degrees minus 125 degrees is equal to, so 55 degrees. All the rest are 55 degrees. Okay, when you know 1, you know 4. When you know 1, you know 4, and then you use 180 minus that 1 to find the other 4. So, here we go again. Step 1. What kind of angles are they? Here's my parallel lines. They're inside. So they're interior angles. Here's my transversal. Are they on the same side or are they on opposite sides? They're on opposite sides, which means that they are alternating angles. So these are alternate interior angles. And they, once again, are congruent. If you can't remember, look at our notes. So 5y is equal to 2y plus 78 degrees. Okay, subtract 2y from both sides. 3y is equal to 78 degrees. Divide by 3. Y is equal to 26 degrees. Okay, substitute back in. Well, 5y is probably the easier one to do. So that is 5 times 26 degrees, which gives me 130 degrees. Once I know 1, I know 4. Vertical angles are congruent. Okay, I've got 4 in. Now how do I find the other 4? Well, they add up to 180, so 180 minus 130 degrees is equal to 50 degrees. Okay, if you're still struggling, back it up and look again. Corresponding angles are congruent. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. So your corresponding and your alternating angles are congruent. Same side anything is supplementary. You also have those linear pairs in here. Okay, so find the measure of x. What characteristics help you find x? What do you know and how do you use it? What kind of angles are they? This one you should be able to do on your own. So pause the video and see if you can recognize the type of angle, set up the equation, and solve. Okay, this is exactly like the last one we did, only it is at a different angle. It's if you're looking, these are exactly alike, other than the slope on the lines is going differently. Remember, these little double arrows means parallel. So these are also alternate interior angles. I'm going to shorten it to A, I, A, which are congruent. Okay, I spelled it out last time. This time we can shorten it up. If they're congruent, then we set them up equal. So it will be 8x minus 34 degrees is equal to 5x plus 2 degrees. Okay, which is smaller, 8x or 5x? 5x is, so we subtract 5x from both sides. 8x minus 5x is 3x. Minus 34 degrees is equal to 2 degrees. Okay, I have subtracted 34 degrees. I need to add. So 3x is equal to 34 plus 30, negative 34 plus positive 34 is 0. 2 plus 34 is 36 degrees. Now I need to divide both sides by 3, and x degrees will equal 12 degrees. And now I need to substitute in. Which one's going to be easier? Well, I think that 5x plus 2 is going to be the easier expression to solve. So I've got 5x plus 2, which gives me 5 times 12 degrees plus 2 degrees. 60 plus 2 degrees is 62 degrees. So once I know 1, I know 4. 62 degrees, 62 degrees, 62 degrees, 62 degrees. Once I have that, to find the other 4, I do what? Subtract from 180. So 180 degrees minus 162, or minus 62 degrees is equal to 118 degrees. Now I know the other 4. Okay, so once you know 1, you know 4. Then you take 180 minus and you find the other 4, and you're done. Okay, on the next picture we have these two lines are parallel because they've got one arrow on them. These two lines are parallel because they've got two arrows on them. If you notice, the lines that have one arrow on them are not parallel to these. So that's kind of a way to look at it. So let's start thinking about all the angles that are congruent. If I'm looking at this part only, okay, these lines are parallel. So I know that this angle is going to be congruent to this angle because they're vertical. Now I go to my corresponding. This angle is congruent to this angle because they correspond. This angle is congruent to this angle because they're vertical. Okay, when I change and go this way, I'm going to cover this up now because I want to see how this corresponds here. These two lines are parallel. So this will correspond to this angle. These two angles are corresponding. Okay, which means that these two angles are vertical. This corresponds to this top one, and that is vertical there. Those 8 angles are congruent. So I know they're all equal to how many degrees? 106. Okay, I knew 1, I knew 8. That's a little bit different. But I also know that 106 is equal to 4z plus 6. 106 degrees is equal to 4 times z degrees plus 6 degrees. Subtract 6 from both sides. 100 degrees is equal to 4 times z degrees. Divide by 4. 25 is equal to z degrees. That's 25 degrees. Okay, so I found z, I found 8 of the, half of the angles. Now I need to find y, and I need to find the other angles. Well, to find the other angles, I need to take 180 degrees minus 106 degrees. Okay, 180 minus 106 leaves me with 74 degrees. The rest are all 74 degrees. Okay, so 2y is equal to 74 degrees. So 2 times y degrees is equal to 74 degrees. I divide it in half, and y degrees is 37 degrees. So y is equal to 37, x is equal to 74, and z is equal to 25. I found all my variables. Now, I know I'm successful when I can find unknown angles in parallel lines cut by a transversal. Remember, the sets that are congruent, corresponding, alternate interior, and alternate exterior. are all congruent. Your same side are supplementary. So same side interior, same side exterior. Will be supplementary. So what do you have to do? You have to look at the diagram. Decide if your angles are congruent or supplementary. Set up your equations and solve. After you solve for a variable, use that variable in the expression to find the angle measure. It is all about thinking about what I have and how to use its characteristics.